Okay, got it. Okay. Hello and a happy new year. Welcome to Lunar Reason with Christeen. I'm your host, Rod Chan. Oh, very happy to see everyone on the first day of 2024. Hi, Christeen. How are you?
I'm thrilled that it's 2024. I needed 2023 to be over, and now I'm super excited because
Yeah,
2024 has lots of goodies for us, lots of things to look forward to, um,
include.
including, including your comets, which is not my field, but it's yours, so that's very exciting. But I have,
Yeah.
yes, lots of things to look forward to. But
Well,
we
yeah.
have to start off by saying today's news is really shocking.
Oh, yes.
Just before we came on, I
Yeah.
see that the number of earthquakes has gone up to over 80 in
Yeah,
Japan.
crazy.
But Jupiter stationed, so
Yeah.
big deal. But it's stationed on the Uranus node midpoint.
Mm.
And of course, Mars is on the galactic center and it's out of bounds. And Mercury is stationing. So you have a cumulative effect. Um,
Yeah.
I haven't done enough study on it yet, but I did look at the chart for Japan
Mm-hmm.
and the nodes. It's very interesting, the chart for Japan, because we have an accurate chart.
Yeah.
It has 0 degrees of the cardinals rising, but
Yeah.
the nodes at the moment are right on its backbone. Right,
Mm-hmm.
the north node is on its IC. So,
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for this, but you can actually see some astrological correlation.
Mm. Yeah. Well, one observation around the Capricorn English chart on the 2023 22nd of December for the
Yeah.
Tokyo, the Chiron is right on the ascendant. Chiron is right
Wow.
on the ascendant. Yes, so
Wow.
that would be another things we can keep an eye on it. But yes, Japan is that earthquake was quite huge. I think it's at least magnitude 7, and they already issue few tsunami warning. Just after that happened, I quickly text to my colleague in Japan, Mayumi, who
Yeah.
is the head of Academy of Astrology Japan.
Japan.
Um, she told me, say, yeah, there's a lot of a quite small earthquake, but everyone, well, people are not panicked because they all prepared. They
Yes.
all, yeah.
Uh,
So I think an earthquake in Japan, well, still going to devastate it, but the people are used to it and they prepare for it. So sounds like, well, at least in Tokyo, it's not
but
huge
that's
thing.
but that's on the other side, right?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
where it is, they're saying that they've got 30 buildings collapsed already. I mean, the
Yes,
the pictures are always dramatic, but
yes,
Russia has also issued a tsunami warning for
yes.
its coast as well. So I suppose we'll know more tomorrow. And of course, it could be Mercury playing tricks on us.
Yeah, yes, true,
Yes.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Mercury is at least more, it's stationary too, right?
The thing is, it's not quite, right? And this
Yeah,
is where it's at its most dangerous or prankster effect, really, isn't it? It's that 48
yeah,
hours before. And,
yeah.
we had the Eurostar couldn't run,
Oh dear, poor people around the station. Yeah,
Yeah, but and yesterday again, sorry, I wanted to talk about upbeat things, and we will. But
yeah.
the Israelis have been showing the complexity of the tunnels underneath
Mm-hmm.
Gaza.
Yes,
And there we had another big tunnel story here because
yeah.
the tunnel was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
so I was looking at the influence of the dwarf planets to see if they would tell us more about, what's going on underneath. And I think
mm-hmm.
there's a big story there. And by the way, really exciting news, because when we speak again, I
Mm-hmm.
will have had my meeting with Sue Keents, who is
Ah,
coming over here. She's visiting the UK briefly,
yeah,
and her book is just absolutely the best with
cool,
the dwarf planets. So
cool.
I'm hoping to be a lot more fluent and confident talking about that when we meet again.
I think you are already expert of the asteroid and the dwarf planet.
No, 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 no,
Compare
no,
with me.
no. I'm anything but. I'm just fascinated by it all.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes, of
But
course.
of course, our big thing in 2024, right, is the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, right? And
Yes.
where does that fall in your chart?
Because I think it's around 21-degree Taurus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which house will it be for you?
Well, I think that is 11.
Well, there we go. I mean, you ran such a phenomenal conference before, so you just got to take and ride on that curve now. You've got to take up 4 positions. That's stunning. What were you doing in 2020?
Oh, what I was doing in 2020. Well, I started to hold this kind of program things. You remember I started to decide to run a few webinar in English because I used to focus on Chinese Mandarin.
Yeah.
But I never prepared to run any course in English. So I think it was that time I start saying, let's do it. Let's start to run a few webinar in English.
Well, this is just so interesting because it was 2020 when we had the Jupiter-Saturn at that degree, and now we've got the Jupiter-Uranus at this degree. So it's like you put in the stepping stones in 2020, and now you're taking it up onto another level. I mean, they are a fabulous combination, Jupiter and Uranus. Right?
Yes.
Obviously, it's going to affect everybody. So it's a bit. It's sudden, unexpected. It's exciting. And which house is it going to affect? And actually, if I've just read, I mean, I shouldn't be talking about this now because it's not published yet, but I have just read the most fabulous review by Scott Silverman, who's actually talking about somebody else's work that was actually about psychedelic drugs. But what he's done is he's done this wonderful, wonderful piece about how transits layer one on top of the other, so you can't ever look at one thing on its own. You see it as almost as though it's a spiral, right? So it's so exciting. What he's proposing really is that you actually think about that degree, think about 21 Taurus, right? Which midpoint does it pick up in your chart? How is it worked before, so how is it going to work this time? And I mean, obviously I've got a personal interest in it, in that I have Pluto at 21 of Leo. So it will be it's square to that, and of course that's the gambler's curse, isn't it? So we have to be very careful what I'm going to be doing then. But of course it will pick up an awful lot of people who are like me, born in 1951. So we will all have that, and I just wonder what kind of political views we might come up with, because Jupiter and Uranus are often politics.
And it's not only us. I think also in the United States, we know next year would be a hot year for the politics because the election is in November for next year. And I think we are going to prepare for general election in at least 2025. So next year could be any time until 2025.
Rod, there are 50 countries going to the polls in 2024.
I'll start from Taiwan. Taiwan will be on the 13th of January.
But what's so fascinating is that some of them will have Pluto in Capricorn, and some of them will have Pluto in Aquarius. So there will be, we really are going to see 2 very different images, and we're navigating something very different. I didn't attend myself. I got the info back from Scott that there had been a meeting with astrologers, all of whom practice different techniques. So you had a spiritualist, a heliocentric, whatever, putting all thoughts together. And it was interesting. They were talking about, obviously, the US election. Now, my is that you don't look at the date. Well, you can look at the date of the election itself. That's one story. But what you really want to do for me, is to think about who's going to be giving that speech on the 20th of January and what are they going to be talking about? Because if you do it that way, what you can see what their plans are for the next 4 years.
Okay.
So it's a lazy way of doing the astrology, right?
Got it.
It's very simple. The guy is going to speak just after midday on the 20th of January 2025. So have a look at it and just see which planets are going to be up and rising. Now, in that chart, the Sun and Pluto are obviously they're pretty close together.
Yes.
Now, that's been the case for the last few, but for the last few, Pluto has been moving up towards the Sun. This time, it's going to be the Sun that's moving towards the Pluto. And if you use the solar arc method, well, any method actually, even the Sun progress, then the progressed Sun will move onto the Pluto. So whoever goes into power, I think it's a short-lived presidency, right? But it has. We know it has to be because we can see what's coming through 27 and 28 and 29, you know. But no, I think we're going to have so much to look at. But I would say to anybody that starting now, look and see where that Jupiter-Uranus thing is, right? Because you might as well be prepared for the firework, right? Because that's what it will be. Right?
Yeah, it could be,
And if you need to put a fire guard up, right?
Yes.
You can be ready for it, right? But Jupiter Uranus should be fantastic for astrologers, right?
Yes, right? Definitely,
So, and it's in Taurus. So we're not talking about airy-fairy ideas here, right? We're talking about a practical approach to astrology, which frankly, I'm ready for. I don't know about anybody else, but I really am ready for it. You know, I don't want the psychobabble anymore.
Exactly. But I think the Jupiter will move and will change in sign next year too. So what could we expect when Jupiter moves into Gemini?
Wow. What about hot air for a start?
Right? Yes, hot air. Yes, exactly.
From the financial point of view, right? I'm going to be looking at anything. Let's just think Gemini's communication. It's transport, isn't it? Right? Jupiter is air transport, right? This is personalized. This is going to be like air bicycles, right? So I'm going to be looking at the companies that are coming up with the little jetpacks, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
What's going to happen with the drones, right? How are they going to become personalized and usable? At the moment, what we're seeing of them is the negative side, because we're seeing them as they're warmongering, right? But everything can be used to the positive. So I'm wondering about that, right? I'm also wondering what it's going to do to the computer technology, right? The watches. I mean, we've already got Apple watches and those things, but I wonder, you know, how is that going to expand? It's also because there will be a fabulous trine, won't there, between Jupiter and Pluto? Early June. You know, as Jupiter gets into Gemini, it comes back and it makes that lovely trine. So that makes you wonder about artificial intelligence. Again, you can squawk about all the negative side of that, and you're right. But things like ChatGPT are going to take off. Right? And yes, that does make us have to think about controls. And that's one thing actually, which I think is, for astrologers, this is where I think we've got a red flag, is there's a full moon in August. Let me get the date.
I think should be around the 19. That's
the 19th of August. It's a really interesting chart because the full moon is at 27 of Aquarius. So that's the astrologer's degree, right? So that kind of puts us into the frame there. But the same, it's within an ace of Jupiter and Saturn. They square one another on the 19th. Same day. Whilst Venus opposes Saturn, and the Sun is square Uranus, and the Sun is conjunct Mercury.
Wow.
Now, if you look at that entire picture, that's one heck of a date. Now, I think there are lots of possibilities of this. When we had something vaguely similar last year, that was when Donald Trump lost one of his court cases. And I'm listening to somebody this morning, they're saying there will be at least one that he loses. It could be to do with that. Jupiter and squaring Saturn very often coincides with the loss of a bank. That's not the same as an entire banking collapse, right? That's the way that we had the collapse, the Californian bank, whose name is gone from me, but in March of last year. we could similarly have a crisis then. But if you look at it and see, just because Venus is going to be in a mutable sign, as is Mars,
Yes.
as is Jupiter, as is Saturn, as is Neptune, right?
Yeah. And during that time, I mean, after that full moon, we will have like a Mercury stationary and Uranus stationary ready for retrograde. And, you know, whole bunch of things happen during that time.
Well, but rather than just speak, we have to actually think, well, what actually is going to happen? So my forecast is, right, for a start, that I think we'll see a dip in the markets, because markets generally do not like the things when they're immutable. When we get heavy duty mutable, they're in a bit of a dip. Add a bit of Jupiter square Saturn and a bit of a banking crisis, and then we've definitely got that. Then the sun will be conjoined Mercury, but on the astrologer's degree, right? Now, either that means I'm going to get a huge custard pie in my face because I've got it completely wrong, right? Or alternatively, we're saying astrology's got real value in the real world because we're forecasting this. So in other words, if that forecast is right, that could actually be a very good astrological moment. You're not running a conference then, are you?
No, you mean August?
Yes.
But during that time, we will be very busy in UK astrology community because I think the AA conference is around that time. Yes. And then, no, faculty summer school is around that time. It's the weekend before, I think. And then the AA conference is just after. I think the AA conference is like from 20 something. So no, I don't run the conference, but Wendy run the conference, and I will be there to help. You know, you get involved. I know you would love, and I love to.
I think I just dropped myself right in it.
I know. You know what? I would surely ask Wendy, say, get Christeen in, let her test.
I hadn't even noticed that. I hadn't even noticed that. But you know, because I'm so preoccupied with the New York Stock Exchange and all of that, I had to
I know.
stay away from.
Okay. I should correct myself. Okay, the conference for the August starting from 29.
Oh, well, that's okay. So it's clearer for 19th. Yes, okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. And the 20 and the 19, I think faculty summer school maybe start after that day. But yeah, so it should be fine. We should be fine. No one run the conference that time.
Well, maybe if they're going to talk, I mean, maybe they've got really good talks about Sun Mercury. That would be the thing to talk about, or the Jupiter Saturn.
Yeah, maybe they will because that is quite interesting. Could I add something? Could I chip something in? Because the possible visible, you remember I mentioned about a comet. Next year there is a super bright comet. It's possible, maybe as bright as Hale-Bopp. We never know, but it's likely, presumably at this moment, the large comet and very close to our, the distance. So we are expecting could be a great comet, but we haven't lot great comet since we only have one in 2007. Comet Magno. That's a great comet in the South Hemisphere.
Yeah.
But for whole 21st century, we still don't have any great comet. So this one could be the first great comet we can see in North Hemisphere. And then I think as early as we can see is around that time, around 20 of August.
Well, I mean, if this is not my field, but I mean, anybody knows a comet is supposed to herald something, but we don't actually need the comet, right? What I was saying to you,
I agree, 100% agree with you.
We don't need the comet because we actually know that we are heralding a new age. Right?
Yes.
Incidentally, and on this, because you mentioned about the sun, did you know that this great hole has opened up in the middle of the sun?
Oh yes.
And and they're now saying that contrary to what has been said for the last umpteen years, that we might actually be headed towards a solar minimum with Earth cooling and not Earth rising. I mean, entirely the opposite, because the sun is not doing what was expected.
Because I remember last time when it cooling was during the pandemic, right?
No, no, not quite.
No,
I mean,
no.
what they're talking about is they're talking about the major cooling.
Major cooling.
For
Sorry.
the Dalton minimum and the Maunder minimum. And this is because if you listen to the climate the climate people who are saying that there's a danger of us going up 1.5 degrees, if we take in the sun's behavior, the sun might actually modify that so we don't get that increase. I think it's one of those things we just don't know enough. Right. But if you go to spaceweather.com, there's quite a lot to read there. Yeah.
Well, so that is possible. We should keep an eye on it, because things I heard about you talking about the weather, spaceweather.com, and with the done activity with economic or even the world event, and it's fascinating because when you go to check the kind of a minimum solar activity was during the pandemic. That was what I was trying to mention. That last time we have a minimum activity was during the pandemic, and that was like
So we're supposed to be going up to maxima now.
Right? Yes, we are.
And the number of sunspots has certainly been out of the ordinary, but now this is making a difference.
Okay.
And that's huge. The guy who is writing really well about this at the moment is Ono Doser.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've been distracted by other things, but I'm hoping to do some collaboration with him, because and part of the problem, Rod, is we don't have enough data, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, we don't have hundreds of years of data on this, and one of the many advantages of having NASA for us with the planets is we can kind of know where everything was a couple of months ago. But it's a bit different with the sun. We don't have the proper records, or adequate records, rather.
Yeah. Wow, it's kind of interesting, and this is totally changed. It is kind of a change everything we can expect, because if we really going to step into the kind of a minimum activity or something that.
The other thing we should talk about before we close up is this extraordinary build-up of things we're going to have in Aquarius. I mean, look at February, and you get the February new moon, the first time that's got Pluto there as well.
Yes.
Just a couple of days later, you have a Mars-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And by the end of that week, Venus is in Aquarius as well. So we're going to have this concentration of Aquarian energy. And
indeed.
I mean, that's a little bit of a political minefield, but it rather, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's a bit dictatorship is that grouping.
I know, because that time we have a Mars, right? We also have a Mars approach to Pluto too.
Yeah.
And one more thing I just like that first quarter moon, the moon will be 27-degree Taurus, aligned with Ogo. That is hot.
Yes,
that will be hot.
So we have so many notes to make. Do you know Robin Ray's book?
Yes, Robin. Yes, Robin has a very tiny, beautiful. I always have one near me. Yes. That was really good, useful.
Because so I was reading that, looking at 2024 last night. And that if you can write your own transits into that, that's that's a really valuable little book. That's one that everybody should have had for Christmas.
Definitely. Robin spent a lot of time working on her project, and really, she's very proud of it. Yeah. So yes, also, I invite her to talk about the similar things. I think it's on the it's on the 13th of January. I will have a Robin Ray give a talk. So if anyone want to come to listen Robin Ray talking about lunar phase and about her book, please contact me. Yeah. By saying that, Christeen, any project or any teaching you are running at this moment?
Well, okay, so the big thing is next Sunday, which is the Astro Crypto event, right? Which I'm really looking forward to. I've been doing a lot of research on that. And then on the 18th of January, I hop, skip, and a jump to Florida, where I'm going to do 3 talks in Florida in the space of the 2 weeks before I come back. So, and then after that, I've really got to get to grips with this finance course.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of a break to recover from recent events.
Yes.
Yeah.
But think about the Florida sun. That would be fantastic.
I am definitely thinking about the Florida sun, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, for AOA, we have a few events on the 13th. As I say, we have a Robin Ray come to join us. She talk about what can we expect for 2024, and that would be on Saturday, 13th January at 4 p.m. UK time. And on the 20th, we have Sharon Knight. She's talking about personal chart. She talk about finding your partner in chart. It's a very practical and suitable for beginner. Easy, simple, always Sharon's technique.
Oh, fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Yes. And then interesting on the 10th of February, that will be challenging for me because I will be in Taiwan, but I will stay over the midnight on the Chinese New Year Day on that day. And we have the Ana Andrade from Peru. She's going to talk about earthquake in astrology. And then on the 24th, we have Darby Costello. She's going to talk about relationship. And then Christeen is on the list, but a little bit later. Yeah. So So I'm really happy to have everyone come to join us. So if you are interested in this course webinar, please contact me. If you are interested in Christeen's crypto, I will always post the direction and website on our description area, so you can contact Christeen. Well, so Christeen, looks like we both will be very busy for 2024.
I think so. Well done again for 2023. It was just brilliant, the conferences. So well done you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and thank you. I mean, it's so nice to have you join us, and you are always there to support us. I really appreciate it, and I think our audience too, because once a month we can listen about your idea about what's going to happen. That is, I think for a lot of people, that is a really fabulous time to, to get some idea and get some idea around what we can expect at this moment. So I really hope we will continue doing this for 2024.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Christeen. Have a nice New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye.